A couple of months back, we looked at all the sets that had made the first 2024 LEGO Ideas review, but now it's time for the second review, and 35 sets have made the cut, reaching 10,000 supporters between the start of May and the 2nd of September. Which will be the overall winners chosen in 2025? I'm going to give you my thoughts on which ones are going to be chosen as the winners. And believe me, it's good to be back after 2 weeks away camping, trying to enjoy the British summer in a tent. First up, having achieved 10,000 supporters and making the review, is this, the Market Village. And considering that we've not long ago had the Medieval Town Square for the Icons range, I don't think that our medieval village here will be making the cut. It's a shame, because it certainly has a lot of positive points, but I do also feel that it's very overcrowded. In fact, there's just so much going on that you really don't know exactly where you're supposed to look. Especially with all of these vegetables and plants in the foreground, it does look rather messy to me. On the plus side, the buildings do look nice. There's a good amount of minifigures and animals included, something that was noticeably lacking in our medieval town square, with the grey goat being banked upon by LEGO as a key selling feature at the expense of pretty much any of the other animals you should have got in this set. As for our Market Village, whilst I do think that less could have been more, it was definitely deserving of the 10,000 supporters that it got. However, I just cannot see it being amongst the chosen when LEGO reveal the results in spring of 2025. Next up is the ZH1 film camera, a little bit more niche in its appeal. It's definitely been well constructed. It's not easy to create these shapes out of Lego bricks and keeping it true to the original source material. However, once again, having just had the retro camera and Polaroid in the last few months, it seems extremely unlikely that Lego would go and give us another camera, especially under the Ideas theme. So congratulations on reaching support and commiserations, as I think the chances of this being chosen are a shot in the dark. Pun definitely intended. The third of our 35 is the TinTin space rocket. I've given my opinions on this in the past in some of the choice picks that I've done from LEGO Ideas. I think TinTin is very much deserving of having a set, but I don't think that this is it. Whilst this is extremely different from any of the other rockets or space themed sets that we've got from LEGO, there's no denying that there have been a lot of space all throughout this year, and that's going to continue into 2025. Are they going to pair that up with TinTin for a LEGO Ideas set? I honestly can't see it myself, but it's not to take it away from this. I grew up reading TinTin books, and it would be a cool thing to have. Just don't think that it's going to do it. Next up we have this, the Working Image Projector, or Magic Lantern. Now this is a cool looking thing and a really nice idea. It impressed me at the time, as I've covered in a previous video. It's a really cool thing. You put your phone inside, turn the lights off in the room, shine your torch through, and it's going to make these images appear. That's a really cool thing to have. Now, previously I would have said, is anybody actually going to put their phone in one of these? But after the telephone box, and of course the retro radio that LEGO gave us this year, it's definitely something that they're open to, and at least this way it's much easier. You can just slide the phone in underneath rather than having to insert it inside like you did with the radio. After all we actually need is the light that's being shone through. It's quirky, it's cool, it sort of feels like the type of thing that they have been choosing lately. How much commercial appeal it would have is a different matter, and that might be its downfall. But I do really like it, and I think it's different enough that it might just stand a chance. Next up, we move on to the Hydroelectric power plant. Here's a design that definitely deserves to be made. Different from anything that LEGO has produced before, but not so out of the box that it would be out of place. I think that this would massively complement many build setups. The way that it's been designed just looks super cool, and the thought that's gone into the colours that have been chosen. Not to forget, of course, the water, which also looks really cool. Sadly, these type of builds are ones that LEGO shies away from. It's certainly got a big piece count attached to it, and as we know all too well for LEGO Ideas, often they are tampered with so much through the design phase that your end result is not going to feature anything near this detailed or sizable, which in turn would frankly ruin it. So whilst it's something I would like to see, to my eye it's going to be too complex for them to pick, unless of course they give it the LEGO Ideas treatment and halve it in size, losing all the detail, which nobody wants. Now, this is one you might find sweet or salty. It is the popcorn machine. What an idea. big thumbs up from me on this one. It looks so cool, it looks so good, and the working mechanics of it are a really nice feature to have as well. Thinking about some of the LEGO Ideas sets that they've chosen quite recently, even things like the minifigure prize machine, this really seems to sit in with that sort of style and size. It's quirky, looks good, shouldn't be too difficult to actually make. I mean, they can do this without changing it too much, you would like to think. And this is something that personally I would be quite happy just having on display in the kitchen. You know, you can imagine people coming round and they'd sort of just look at it and not even appreciate that it was Lego until they do take a closer look. So I do really like this one, and I think it's in with a very good chance of being chosen. Fits the mould of things that Lego have gone with. So many people like popcorn, it's just a fun thing to have. I think it would prove really popular and sell quite well, as there is no reason that it should have a stupid price attached to it. Famous last words, I know. Number 7 is Wednesday's dorm room and balcony. Unfortunately, we know that, of course, this is not going to be made, as we are already getting it in the upcoming Wednesday sets. It's a shame because these actually feature minifigs rather than the mini dolls that we will be getting, but due to that, we already know that this does not stand a chance of being picked. Along the same vein, we have Bob's Old Tugboat. One of the most recent LEGO Ideas that have been chosen is the River Steamboat, which makes it unlikely to my mind that this is also going to be chosen, as well as the fact that we have the likes of the Endurance ship coming out, and some more boats from the City lineup that are going to be coming in the start of 2025. All of those things considered, I don't think that this is going to make it, but that is a pity because we frankly don't have enough decent sized good boats made out of Lego, and this is definitely one of them. I like the shaping, the style, the colours. Could have done with a few more minifigs perhaps, but 2's okay, and frankly when it comes to a tugger you only need 1. So full credit to the designer, I like it for what it's worth. And as this is suitably different from the likes of the City line, it could be chosen. I just think, especially having had that River Steamboat, they're not going to go for this one as a pick in their next review phase. Just the way I'm thinking. Let me know if you disagree in the comments down below. We then have the Lisbon Tram, and when I covered this in a previous video of upcoming sets, I mentioned that it would be great to get another tram. Of course, we then had the recent City tram that's come out. I still think that this looks good. There were a few improvements that I would like to have seen. However, in the comments on that video, a lot of people actually jumped in saying that they lived in Portugal and that this was a poor representation of what the trams were like. I have visited, but certainly have not stayed there for any lengthy period of time, so I'm not going to pretend to know. All I will say is it would be nice to get another tram. However, if, as those comments seem to allude to, it wasn't a very accurate portrayal, then it wouldn't deserve it. Also, I don't think that this is something Lego would pick. Anything of this nature, they're just going to bring out during their City line. I don't believe that they would do it under Lego Ideas. On then to this, the claw machine, another super fun idea that I think would have standed a much better chance of being chosen had it not been for the fact that we've just had the minifigure prize machine approved. I say just had, it's actually been a while now. It also had the vote on what classic space minifig, new colour and castle faction would be included in this. I think we all pretty much know what it's going to be, but they have not officially revealed it. So again, although I've given my thoughts on that in the video at the time, we still have to technically wait for them to properly announce it. Given their history, that could be another couple of years. Anyway, snarkiness aside, this is obviously something very similar to that. Now, on the one hand, you could say that that just proves it's exactly the sort of thing that they will pick. And I'd like to think that they would. I remember playing these a lot in the arcades as a kid. Admittedly, if they did do this, I would immediately be putting Woody and Buzz Lightyear in there. My mind just immediately goes to Toy Story and Pizza Planet for this. You know, it would go nicely alongside the likes of the Pac-Man arcade set and that minifigure prize machine. But because of this, I just don't think that they are going to be choosing another one that's so similar in its core elements. A shame, because it looks really cool. It would be super fun, very much deserving. Now then, the tennis match. This is one that I've called out before as having caught my eye. I think it's extremely clever, a nice mix of different things going on. I mean, come on, squirrel on a treadmill in a gym, that's brilliant. As well as playing chess, it's quirky, it's fun, it would easily fit in with a city setup. Now, considering the rule change for the Bricklink Designer Programme, having banned modular style builds, including sidewalks, from Series 6 onwards. They haven't made any announcements similar to that for LEGO Ideas yet, not that I'm aware of, but it makes me wonder if they're also going to be banning effectively builds of this style from being submitted via LEGO Ideas as well. You'd like to think not, but quite frankly, who knows with LEGO anymore. It's such a cool looking thing though. I really like the building. There's so much fun going on, and just the whole tennis aspect. This would so fit in with people's setups for different modular buildings and the general cityscapes. I think it's a superb idea, and I'd like to think that this definitely could be chosen. It's just now in the back of my mind though, because of the changes they've made to the rules for Bricklink, is something similar going through their heads for LEGO Ideas as well? If so, then they're not going to be picking this. Then, for all the aspiring DJs out there, the Pioneer CDJ 2000 Nexus Multiplayer. A lot of attention to detail that's gone into this. Sadly, it would involve a lot of stickers, quite likely some stamp involved as well, stickers across multiple pieces, which is something I detest. Nevertheless, credit where it's due for a good design. I do think that it's a bit too niche though. Commercially, probably wouldn't sell that well. And it's a lot of pieces, 2,600 for this, so the price wouldn't be particularly cheap. Again, for something that would have a lot of stickers involved. There's no way that LEGO would do these as printed elements, you know, if it was chosen. So for that reason, wouldn't be for me. Next, we have the Blacksmith from the Wild West. Same designer that's had success with Bricklink designer programmer and a couple of sets that have been chosen for that now. In that respect, I would like to see this chosen because I am a fan of Wild West builds. And it would be great to get another one that complements those. However, poor sales from the Bricklink designer program on these, which is frankly going to send a red flag to LEGO that the interest simply isn't there. Ultimately, why would they produce anything that's not going to get purchased? And Bricklink's limited to 30,000 copies. When it comes to really popular ones, most typically your castles, they're the obvious example, people get very annoyed because they miss out. The 30,000 gets sold out in under 24 hours, either being purchased by legitimate fans who want them or scalpers who are taking advantage of the whole system. Either way, that's a separate debate. But these ones, by the designer, haven't sold out. And if you don't sell out the 30,000 copies, I just don't see why LEGO Ideas would then produce this for wider distribution. Now we have Wallace and Gromit, A Grand Day Out. My favourite of all of Nick Park's Aardman animations and creations. It is fantastic. Just one of the very best things to me that has ever been put on television. Absolutely brilliant. I'm such a fan, in fact, of Wallace and Gromit. I have a beagle who is called Gromit. For that reason, you can probably tell that I would love to see a Wallace and Gromit set. This, though, I've got to say, is not doing it for me. I appreciate that these renders of the minifigs are not, well, one would like to think not going to be what the final design would be, but they just do not do it for me at all. To be fair, the rocket ship is, in the way it's designed, very similar to what we see in A Grand Day Out. Love the concept. Hey, if it was chosen, maybe it's something that the LEGO designers could work with our fan designer here on to just improve a bit. As I say, it's unfair to judge these renders. You know, if they did proper minifigs, then absolutely fantastic. Maybe a little bit more detail on the rocket, that would be really appreciated. I would love to see this done. I'd love from all of the Wallace and Gromits, actually, if they could do a train set of the wrong trousers where they're chasing Feathers McGraw, I forget the name. That would probably be my dream LEGO set. Awesome concept. With some tweaking, could be fantastic, so fingers crossed, you know, maybe that would happen. We then have the Italian Riviera. However, not really much point spending much time on it because, of course, LEGO Ideas have chosen the Italian Riviera by a different designer in the latest roundup. I covered that along with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory in a previous video. So, nice as this is, they're not going to do two of effectively the same thing, so this will not be making the cut. Now then, the Humpback Whale Breach. This is a superb little model. I would have liked it if on the underside of the fins we'd actually had some plates put on, just to make it more like the underside here, would have finished it out more nicely, a little bit more water up, just small little changes, which indeed could be done in the design stage by LEGO themselves. So a lot of potential here. I think its wonderful implied movement would be a great thing to have on display. Just looks fantastic, shouldn't be too expensive. Quite frankly, it ticks all of the boxes and therefore is something I think does stand a very good chance of being a winner. I certainly think this is going to be one that the LEGO Ideas design team will be shortlisting when it comes to making their decisions. We then have our new Holland Combine harvester. I'm quite a fan of farm machinery done in Lego. I'd like to see more of it as a sub-theme. Sadly, it just seems to be something that they shy away from more and more. So again, for that reason, just can't see it being picked. If they did do something like this, there's a chance they could do it in the city lineup. More likely we'd get a larger Technic model, something that I would definitely like to see, but that would be under the Technic line. It's not, to my mind, a LEGO Ideas set. It's just not one that they're going to be picking. So I don't know what the fan base is for something like this. I'm assuming it's pretty niche. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I like it. I really do like this sort of thing. But yeah, I don't think that it's going to be picked. We then have the Impression Sunrise by Monet. Sadly, only the one picture. Would have been nice to have get it from a couple of different angles to try and see the depth going on. But look, LEGO have had some success with the art that they've done, the likes of Starry Night, but definitely hasn't flown off of the shelves. So I suspect they'll be a bit reticent when it comes to doing something like this. Art is such a personal thing for people that some people will see this and love it, and obviously a large amount of people simply won't. So because of that, I think commercially they probably would worry about it. I don't think it's going to be chosen. Not through any fault of its own, just not particularly great sales for LEGO on ones that they've done previously. So then, the modular post office, a neoclassical style post office, been designed nicely, would be a great addition to many people's setups, there is no doubt. It's just that question mark in my mind, as mentioned earlier now, over any modulars that are going to be proposed through the LEGO Ideas system, considering that they've now banned them for the Bricklink Designer Programme. It might have no bearance whatsoever, they might be fully happy to continue it with LEGO Ideas, but I'm just wondering if they are, even if not officially going to announce that they are not wanting people to do these, whether they will sort of be sweeping them under the carpet and not wanting to approve them. If that's the case, this therefore wouldn't stand a chance. It's okay. Look, I quite like it. It's not got the best amount of detail, in my opinion. I think there are stronger candidates. So my prediction is that this won't make the cut, but certainly a good concept. No arguments from me there. Then we have the Iron Giant in the Forest, one we've looked at in a previous video and may just crop up again in a future one due to being part of some controversies that have been going on, which I've been delving into and may well bring you my findings on in a video not too long away. That aside, it's very cool, reached support extremely quickly, and probably would have a large fan base. Commercially, I think would do fairly well. Obviously, IP rights always change the pricing that are attached to these, but you know, theoretically, it certainly shouldn't be unreasonable. So it is nice, and I do think a lot of people would buy it. I'm just going to say, though, that I don't think this is going to be chosen, and it's purely through some things that are going on behind the scenes. As I say, I will bring a video on that soon. I don't want to reveal too much too soon, so just watch this space in that regard. But nice build, no denying that. We then have the vintage radio. Listen to your favourite music. This is a concept that might look somewhat familiar, as it works in the same way as the retro radio that LEGO have already brought out. Now, obviously, a vintage radio and a retro one are two different things in the way that they look. However, it's fundamentally going to be the same build, same concept, etc. And simply because of that, to my mind, having had this as part of the Icons range come out recently means that this is not going to be one of the winners. Now, I mentioned a short while ago my love of beagles, owning them myself, and I've always been a fan of Snoopy and, of course, Woodstock. Growing up with the Peanuts cartoons, absolutely brilliant, big emotional connection there. I adore the concept. I think this is very nice. Look, I would have preferred to have Snoopy in his flying gear with his goggles on his little kennel when he's imagining that he's fighting the Red Baron, and obviously have Woodstock involved as well. I think that would have been more of a cool setting for this. But that aside, around a campfire, I still think this is really sweet. There's got to be a lot of fans of Snoopy out there. I think this would be one that could be very nicely priced. and do extremely well in sales. So I'd like to think that it would be chosen. However, I am aware that I could be being biased about this simply because I really, really like the subject matter. So I'd like to see it done. Perhaps it's not current enough anymore. In that respect, maybe it doesn't actually stand a chance, but I think it's really sweet. I'd certainly like to see it picked. Now then, we come to the Sony Walkman, and this is one I'm going to say straight off the bat stands a very good chance. Yes, it's going to involve some stickers again, as I don't think that they would do these as printed elements, but the attention to detail here is magnificent. And given the sort of retro items that we've been getting from LEGO lately, including in the Ideas line, this could make for a popular choice. Again, it's going to be more aimed at those sort of 30 plus in age who can actually remember using cassette players. None of these young whippersnappers are probably going to even know what this is. Otherwise, I think that it's a really nicely designed thing that's not going to be too expensive. I mean, having said that, of course, Star-Lord has his cassette player and mixtapes in Guardians and Avengers, so to be fair, people of all ages should really know what one of these is. In that respect, I think this could sell well. It's not dissimilar to the style of things that they have been picking lately, so I think it's in with a very good chance. We then have NASA's Voyager mission, and it's obviously a very nice concept again. However, I think after the space shuttles that we've had, the Hubble telescope, even the Earth and Moon in orbit, which was something that I've said it before, I'll say it again, I detest this. It should have been so much better than what it is. But after those, I don't think that this is going to be chosen. It's just a concept that's already covered quite a bit by LEGO. And if they want to do anything like this in future, which they definitely will, again, it's going to be under the likes of your Technic theme, icons, maybe city. You know, it's not going to be a LEGO Ideas set. So I can't see that one happening. Then a quirky and very different idea, Tetris Solid. Tetris turned into Lego. I really like it whenever somebody does a Lego build that becomes properly interactive, something that actually has a purpose to being moved around. And here's just a fantastic example of it. Yes, you have to change the rules. Actually, the designer has put in quite a nice amount of detail here if you want to go and visit the LEGO Ideas page as to exactly how you would play this with a few rule changes. And it sounds quite sensible. I think this could be really quite fun and different. Would the novelty wear off and it just become something that ends up sitting in the corner, not used? That's probably the danger, because when it's static, it's an okay thing, but a little bit ugly. No offense to the design, that's actually been done really well. It's just the whole nature of it is a very sort of boxy build that doesn't look great. So static display wise, I can't say that this is really doing anything for me. The concept of playing it though, I think is brilliant. I'm going to say prediction wise, it's not going to be chosen, but do you know what? It's one of the ones where I actually won't be surprised if I'm wrong. I kind of want to be, because it is a cool thing. I think so anyway. Let me know what you think below. Next up is Avatar: The Last Airbender. There's been quite a few submissions on LEGO Ideas for sets relating to this. This is obviously the one that is currently in review. We've had ones in the past that have been turned down. We have seen this appear in the Fortnite game, and of course the series has returned to Netflix, so there is precedent for it to be done. I guess it just depends on whether LEGO would actually want to do this in a line of their own. Having done it in Fortnite, would they want to under LEGO Ideas? I suppose it's perfectly possible, actually, and would prove very popular. So it probably does stand a very good chance. It's just the fact that it's been turned down, not this particular one, but other designers with things very similar to this around this concept has been turned down quite a bit by LEGO in the past. So if we're going on that history, then no, it doesn't stand a chance. But hey, if something's changed and they fancy doing it, why not pick this? Looks pretty good and would prove popular, I think. Moving on then to our Mallard, a brick-built duck, which I really don't like the look of. I think it's because of just all of the exposed studs. It's quite off-putting. That's just a design choice. I prefer on things like this when we actually have tiles and plates that just smooth it out. I think when you've got all these studs, details like the eyes are just lost. So it's not for me. Having said that, I've got to say the shaping has been done really nicely. That's not an easy thing to do, so credit where it's due there. From a design perspective, really captured this well. Some very nice techniques in there, and the choice of colouring is good too. Would people want a brick-built duck? I mean, clearly 10,000 people at least do, but commercially I can't see it being picked. As a matter of fact, I think Lego would have to be ducking quackers to do it. I get them picking the cats, obviously. The cat that we got recently, being a pet, is going to prove a lot more popular, but our Mallard here surely doesn't have the same appeal. So, clever design, not for me personally, and I don't think it will be picked. By contrast, we have this, our floating Sea Otter, and this is one that I do think stands a very good chance. It's just so cute. It's got a great amount of character about it. It's got a decent amount of posability. Would like a little bit more articulation in there. That would be nice. But as a sort of diorama mixed with buildable creature, this ticks so many boxes. I just think it's super cool. You know, putting this on the same shelf as the likes of the Kingfisher that Lego gave us not that long ago, it would look good. And of course, we've got the Autumn Snails as the GWP winner that's going to be coming out as well. So it's all under a sort of similar style. You know, it's not perfect. There's things, again, that if I could, I'd like to just get in there and change, but there's not much. I think it's a really sweet, fun-looking build. And the sort of thing that personally I would quite happily just put on display. Again, shouldn't be too expensive either. Should be a reasonable priced set. Note the emphasis on should be. I'm always ready to be disappointed in that regard. But it's just the sort of nice, inoffensive build that isn't too niche. It's not going to alienate a load of people. If they got the cost right, then I can see it being bought by quite a lot. So, fun little idea, not dissimilar to that whale breaching one that we saw. And along the same vein, I think this will be shortlisted and stands a very good chance of being one of the chosen ones. We then have Arsenal FC, the Invincibles, something else that is part of a controversy that I've been investigating and that I'll be bringing to you shortly. Now, because of that, I don't think that this will be picked. It's not to say there aren't a lot of football supporters out there. Of course there are, and many of those will also be Lego fans. However, of course, when you are doing this for a specific football club, you are immediately alienating a huge amount of people. It's not the first time that Lego have delved into football-related things, and whilst trying to get them on the secondary market can be quite expensive, the actual initial sales were poor. So, long story short, this isn't going to be chosen. There's a few different reasons for that, which I will cover in a separate video. So that one will not be making the cut. Now, though, we have the Working River Rapids Ride, a fairground rafting coaster. Are you trying to give me a tongue twister to have to say, come on, shorter title, please? That aside, the build itself, wow. Not only does it look great, but the movement involved here is super. The way that it's been proposed is through manual operation, but there's room for battery to be included to motorise this, which, if anybody from Lego is listening, definitely needs to be done. This is such an amazing display piece. It would be really fun just to have going around on the side. So clever. It's something that I want to get because I just want to build it, and I feel that I would learn quite a bit through actually building this as well. Now, I have to say, because of its size and what's going on within it in order to make it work, there's a lot of pieces. It would have a fairly hefty price tag attached to it, and you do have to wonder again whether Lego would actually start fiddling about with it. I suspect they would make it considerably smaller, whilst preferably keeping the actual functionality of it intact. So, my verdict on it is this. I would very much like it. I would buy this. I would build it. I think it would be super cool to get. I suspect that it's too big for Lego to actually choose, and therefore they're not going to. But on the flip side of that, if it was chosen, I just sadly suspect that once again, it's one that they would fiddle with and change it into something that would ruin what it has been proposed to be, if that makes sense. So perhaps it's better that it's not made. Now then, Bluey. This is something that would sell like hotcakes. Extremely popular. Love the characters and the house. In fact, everything about this, in the way the fan designer has proposed it, is super cool. And if Lego could just keep it as it is, I think many a fan would be happy. Now, Obviously, as with all things that are based off of third-party IPs, certain negotiations would have to go into place, but I've got no reason to think that the creators of Bluey, having listened to them in interviews before, would have any issues with that. Monetarily, it would probably be more on the expensive side. Think of some of the larger Animal Crossing sets, and obviously they're considerably smaller than this. Famously, Nintendo is quite expensive when it comes to Lego, so maybe it wouldn't be as bad, but certainly don't expect it to be cheap if it was made. That said, I think it stands a very good chance. It just commercially makes sense, so popular, it looks good. It'd be great to have these fun different characters. A lot of kids would want this, but I think a lot of adults would have fun with it too. It's certainly not bad looking. You wouldn't feel loath to have this on display somewhere in the house. Number 32 of the 35 chosen ideas is this Downton Abbey, the more modern upstairs downstairs that took the world by storm. I think as a concept, great, would prove popular. You know, it has a big following. Again, a lot of that will translate over into Lego. My problem with it is the way that it looks. I mean, yes, there's a decent amount of detail there going on to it, but all of these nougat pieces and the browns and beige, it's just too much all of the same colour. I think that it doesn't stand out enough. It would actually be a bit repetitive and boring to put together. Just the colours of it really don't do it for me. The inside is a different story. That's been done nicely, and certainly no complaints there. It's just that exterior which isn't doing it for me, that's for sure. Now, it's also a big set, coming with 15 minifigures as proposed, would make it as being a really quite expensive set. With that in mind, were it chosen, I think it almost unavoidable to scale this down. You'd need to make it financially viable. So I'm going to say great submission, not to my personal taste, but certainly pretty impressive nonetheless, but too big, too many characters, far too expensive. It would have to be changed dramatically were it chosen. And mostly for that part, I don't think that it will be. We then have Coldplay, Music of the Spheres World Tour Diorama. I've given my thoughts on sets like this in the past. Look, it's no surprise that this has reached the 10,000 supporters mark, and I'm sure it would be popular with a lot of Coldplay fans, but every time that Lego has done one like this in the past, particularly relating to music, it just does not sell well for them. That's going to make them very wary. Admittedly, this is quite a small diorama, so there would be, perhaps more people that would actually be willing to buy it who aren't normally into Lego, that just are fans of Coldplay. It's a small build. They could therefore get it and put it on display. But seriously, Lego have been stung nastily in the sales department with things like this in the past, so I'm going to say no. Then our penultimate one, 34 of 35, is this, Bob Ross, The Joy of Painting. Few different ones relating to this that have been proposed. Others haven't made it. Here's one that certainly looks good. I love all of the colour and texture that's going on here. It's exactly the sort of thing that I would definitely buy. I think it's just really pretty. Credit to the fan designer that's done this. Very nicely put together, so much layering, wonderful use of colour throughout. And the way that we have, all the 3D effect with our trees coming out and plants and the little house, etc. When you think you can just put all of that hung on a wall, it's a great little piece of artwork. How popular it would be sales-wise, I honestly don't know. And I guess, a bit like I said about with the Monet art piece earlier, it's so subjective, and Lego have struggled with sales in the past that, again, this probably wouldn't be chosen. But I think it's different enough, and the price should be really good because of the size of it. It's so different from ones that we've had before. I do kind of think that it stands a chance. So probably won't be picked simply because some of the others that we've already covered in the video, as I've said, I think are probably a bit better, just make more sense and are therefore going to win out over this. But I wouldn't be surprised. This would make, scaled down perhaps a little bit, a brilliant GWP. It really would. But I think it'll make the shortlist, but sadly not the winners list. For what it's worth, I really like it though. Think it looks awesome. And now we reach the denouement of our little journey with this Gravity Falls Mystery Shack, one of the most popular watched things on Disney Plus. And in case you didn't know, Lego and Disney, they've collaborated a little bit before. Yeah, I know. Surprising, isn't it? Hadn't realised. So it does make sense that there wouldn't be any problem in having this actually chosen, from a rights perspective. It's another one that is fun and quirky, and considering its consistent popularity, projected sales would seem to be pretty good. All that said, it has been a few years now since this was first aired, and whilst the popularity may continue, you sort of wonder whether they've missed the boat a little bit on something like this. My gut feeling personally is that whilst again this probably wouldn't reach their shortlist, it's not going to be one of the chosen winners. There are other sets that would make more commercial sense, being bought more widely by people, whilst also being more enjoyable to build and display. But there you have it, my thoughts on each of these 35 and the ones that I've called out for being most likely to be chosen. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Keep an eye out for upcoming video that I've referenced there a couple of times, and also of the Lego House Challenge, which I will also be covering in a separate video. Make sure to check that out too. Thank you very much for watching. As always, consider liking and subscribing, share as well, and check out one of these two videos next. Look forward to seeing you on the next one.